Hello and welcome to another episode of the Portrait Profit Show. I'm so glad that you're here with me today. My name is Jim Landers, and my mission is simple. I help portrait photographers just like you create a great income doing what they love. Each week on the Portrait Profit Show, you get tips and systems on the business side of photography designed to help you gain a mastery over marketing and sales, reducing the struggles that most photographers face so you can finally get what you deserve. You're in the right place. Welcome to the Portrait Profit Show. The Portrait Profit Show is brought to you by Digital Pro Lab and Landers Photography School. Digital Pro Lab. Go to digitalprolab.com to find out more about what this wonderful lab does. The owner, Amanda, is a wonderful person, and the team that she has put together are amazing. They love what they do. They are career people who do this all the time, not minimum wage people who are there today, gone tomorrow. No, these are people who love this and do this for their entire career, because that's the kind of people she puts together. Digitalprolab.com. And when you want photography classes, of course, it's Landers Photography School. Go to landersphotoschool.com to see some of the classes that we offer, or just reach out to me direct, Jim at landersphotoschool.com. Just send me an email. We'll talk. Jim at landersphotoschool.com. All right. So before we get into today's topic of setting boundaries and avoiding burnout, I want to do a little bit of housekeeping. We use a system that causes us to be able to simulcast this show to multiple places. Now, that's a cool thing, except that we can't see you unless you give StreamYard, the platform that we use, permission for us to see you. And that's what you see going across the screen right now. It says, before leaving a comment, please grant StreamYard permission to use your name. And you just go to streamyard.com/Facebook, and that's it. You're done. It now will let me see who you are. Now, on some systems, on some platforms, it doesn't allow you to do that. I don't know why. It'll allow you to go through the process, but then I still don't see you. What happens if you want to remain anonymous, or if it doesn't work, then I will just see Facebook user, and I won't be able to see your name, and that's fine too. Especially if you want to remain anonymous. Not everybody wants to let people know they're here. Okay, I get it. That's fine. I'd like to know who's here, though. Do me a favor. Enter in hashtag live in the comments right now. Now, of course, I encourage comments and questions and every other thing, the likes, the loves. I like all of that stuff. So I'm encouraging you right now to do that. But do me a favor, in the comment section right now, I can see several of you have already done it. Enter in hashtag live. That lets me know that you're here and watching live right now. Lot of Facebook users, and I'm glad you guys are here. All right, so man, today is a fun day. I think you're gonna like this topic. A lot of us, you don't like how these variables of today's topic make you feel. However, you're gonna like the solutions that I'm suggesting today. So let's talk about those. Obviously, we're talking about setting boundaries to avoid burnout. But there's certain things that you can do to eliminate this, to make it where it's just not a thing. So in today's show, we're going to be talking about how we do not want, and we're going to not let burnout derail our passion. So join me as I spill the beans on how to start prioritizing you. You'll learn today how to define your ideal life and set policies that align with your values and your goals. Don't miss these game-changing strategies to create your dream career in photography. I want to encourage you to make comments and ask questions throughout this entire lesson. Just go to the comments and put something in there. Let me know what you're thinking, what you're doing. So, as portrait photographers, it is easy for us to experience burnout, or something that is at least in that direction. I can't imagine that any of us have gotten even a slight depth into having a photography business and not felt some doubt or some questioning. I'm not sure if I'm good enough to do this, or what should I do in this situation, and it just kind of drags you down. So it's easy for us to experience those feelings, and whether it's from overbooking and you're just too freaking busy, which a lot of you don't experience, but some of you do, or underbooking, where you're actually a little bit stressed that you can't find enough to fill your calendar, and you're dealing with issues. You're having too much post-production work to do, or any of the multitude of things that we deal with. When we haven't set beneficial boundaries, these feelings, fatigue, sets in. So today, I want to share some suggestions and considerations on how to set boundaries and avoid burnout. That way, you can have a fantastic long-term career doing what you love. The key is no different than an airline oxygen mask. Focus on yourself first. Or the cliche, you can't pour from an empty cup. When we set systems that work for our individual needs, this applies whether you're completely booked for months or you're hustling just to get something on your calendar. My intent with this show today is to help you create systems to prevent burnout that work with your unique personality as well as your business needs. So, the first thing I want to talk about is defining your work-life balance. But the first thing I want to talk about on defining your work-life balance is to address the naysayers to this particular concept, because they aren't wrong. They're actually right. So when I cross paths with naysayers to this ideal work-life balance theory, they're going to say things like, defining work balance is a lousy idea. This whole concept of work-life balance is flawed because there is no such thing as perfect equilibrium between work and life. It's a myth. Sometimes, or something always has to give. You just wind up feeling guilty whenever you focus on one or the other. I've also heard them say things like trying to limit work in favor of arbitrary personal goals risk limiting your success and impact. The most accomplished people throughout history didn't achieve greatness by worrying about work-life balance. Are they wrong? No, they are right. The naysayers are right. So rather than search for balance, accept that work is just a part of life. It's just one of the tools or grouping of tools that you use to get your ideal life. The goal to integrate work and personal pursuits into a meaningful whole. Purposefully choose to be present and make decisions based on the results that you're after in all aspects. Purposefully choose to be present and make decisions based on the results that you're after, so that you are those things that you've determined that are important to you. That's what I want you to focus on. Focus on fulfillment. Don't concern yourself much with balance, because balance actually just kind of comes naturally with fulfillment. But we have to define what fulfillment is. We can't just start traveling down a road and hope that it gets us there until we've defined what there is. You're going to need to answer a few questions like, what legacy do I want to leave? What are my personal values? What relationships are most important to me? And a whole lot more. But when setting boundaries in your photography business and in your life, first get clear on what you want in your ideal life. Define what you want it to look like overall. Notice that I said life. I didn't say work. So I'll say it again. When setting boundaries in your photography business, first get clear on what you want to have in your ideal life. What do you want it to look like? Consider what really matters most to you. besides work. Things like family, social, financial, lifestyle, hobbies, passion projects, health goals, travel desires, giving, things like that. Whatever it is that's important to you. I want you to paint a picture of what success looks like in every single one of those important categories to you. Imagine it as if you were taking a road trip where you have lots of options, but only a handful of those options will actually take you where you want to go. Then work backwards to determine what type of photography workload aligns with that bigger vision. Think about your ideal hours, types of sessions, clientele, earning goals, what items that you want to outsource, and a schedule that is sustainable to reach those goals. Identify any non-negotiable boundaries, like maybe you want to take weekends off. Maybe you want to take Monday and Tuesday off. But define some non-negotiable boundaries on time. It could be that you schedule some date nights throughout the year, that you're limiting your evening sessions so you could spend more time with family. Whatever it is, it's up to you what those things are, but define them and make sure you implement them. Now, I'm going to tell you how in just a moment. Unlike what too many of us wonderful photographers or creatives experience every day, a workload that drains us. This is about mapping out a business and workload that fuels your ideal life. It's not draining you. Here's a couple of questions you're going to need to answer in order to do that. How many sessions do you want to have per week or per month? What number is going to cause you to still thrive in the business, but also enjoy other important priorities? How about this one? What schedule gives me the ideal time for family, hobbies, and self-care? How about this one? What about your earning goals and whatever your ideal lifestyle is? You've got to define these things for yourself. What types of clients and portrait sessions do you enjoy most? There are people who drain you. There are certain types of work that drain you. We have to define what you enjoy most so that you can head in that direction. It's the same concept of when you buy a new car, there seems to be more of those on the road. What you're thinking about, your mind spends more time with. So if you are thinking about the ideal client, if you've defined that person and you look at that description every day, you wind up finding more of that type of person, your ideal client. It's just how things work. It's not a butterfly net you hold out as you're driving to see what you can catch. No, you're defining very clearly what it is you want to catch if you're doing it right. So define your ideal client. Create an avatar for them, as well as what niche resonates with your skills and your interests. Clarity in your ideal life makes it easier to set a course for you and your business. Be purposeful in mapping out the ideal work-life rhythm that allows you to show up with your best self, personally and professionally. And and I don't just mean for now. I'm talking about long term. Here's an action step for you before I move on to the next section. I want you to take time this week to get clarity by answering those questions that I just mentioned, to get clear on who you are and what you want out of this life. And you can go back to previous versions of this show because there's a show that I'm totally dedicated to Ideal Life. Just do a search for it. You'll find it. It's called Ideal Life. All right. Next section I want to talk about, I want to share with you is I want you to pull out your calendar for next year if you haven't done it already. Now, if you're one of my students, you've already done this. And because I ask my students to do this in May of each year. But if you haven't already done your 2024 calendar, your next year's calendar, then get it done now. This isn't something that you put off. You don't plan the next year in December. So this usually when you um, well, begin by marking the dates that you want off. Begin the dates that you want off. You're not going to work. What are those days? Maybe that's birthdays. Maybe that's some date nights or long weekends or vacations. Whatever it is, mark them off first, off of your calendar. Prioritize you and your loved ones first, and you do that by doing it on your calendar. So begin by marking those dates on your calendar and protect that time, just like you would if it was something you put on your schedule for a client. You protect that time. You don't schedule something else during that time. Treat it the same exact way. This sends a signal to your clients that you've set boundaries. This strongly really attracts clients that both value your professionalism and they respect you. Here's some planning considerations. Put in dedicated vacation time. You can absolutely do nothing during that time if you want to, or you can plan a getaway. But just for now, just put something on the schedule to block the time. You don't have to plan whatever it is you're going to do just yet. And I want you to mark off at least a few days, a week, quarterly. At least a couple days, quarterly. At the very least, prioritize your family by celebrating holidays and birthdays fully. Schedule regular date nights with your significant other and throw in some get-togethers with friends. Plan staycations and explore your own area of the world. I live in San Antonio. A lot of the people that watch this show live here too, but there are people watching the show from all over. Your area, there's probably some things that you haven't experienced yet in your area. I mean, San Antonio, Texas, I assume most people picture the Alamo, the Riverwalk, but ask most San Antonians when the last time they were there was. Their answer could be never. Their answer could be when I was a kid. For others that go regularly, maybe when a friend or family member comes into town. But there are a lot of things other than big things like that you can do in your area. Explore your own area. Become familiar with it. Engage in those small businesses that are just like you in your area. And then on your calendar, plan on taking some Fridays or Saturdays, long weekends, and whatever your weekend is for wedding photographers. Your weekend is quite possibly Sunday, Monday, but maybe take Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, but give yourself every once in a while just a little bit more time. Plan it, put it on your calendar. You're going to need to recharge every once in a while, and looking forward to that is a good thing for us. Just mark it off on your calendar. You don't have to have something already for that date. Just make it available to you. You don't need me to tell you that time has value. But what I have found is that too few make it part of their plan. Instead, it's more of an afterthought. Something you do when you have the time. When you purposefully plan time to give your mind and your body rest, fun, and renewal, you come back feeling inspired and excited. So as you plan your ideal year, next year's your ideal year, start by scheduling time off first. Then you can plan your client sessions and other work commitments around that as your foundation. You'll be amazed at how refreshed you feel when you make significant time for your family and yourself away from work. Don't wait until you're exhausted to take time off. Be proactive with planning time off and put your desired time off on the calendar. Do it today. You'll be amazed at how refreshed you feel when you prioritize restoring your mind, body, and spirit. So this is the action step for this section. Update your 2024 calendar with time off, with lots of fun stuff, and make next year your ideal year. Do it today. By the way, does that sound like a good idea to you? If so, will you do me a favor and tell me in the comments? I want to know that somebody's watching. So tell me, what do you think? Is that a good idea? Putting stuff on your calendar, planning stuff that is fun, something to look forward to? Or do you think it's a better idea just to take time off whenever you're able? Whenever there's just nothing that happens to be scheduled? If that's ever the case. Tell me what you think. If you're getting something out of this so far, we just maybe comment yes, or it's helping. Something that tells me that this is good information. You want me to keep on sharing it with you. Next thing I want to share with you is I want you to define your options, your availability, and your policies, and actually a couple of other things. So now that you've determined what your ideal life is and you've put it on your calendar, it's time to align your business, services, and policies accordingly. In this section, I'm going to cover defining your niche services and ideal client, creating descriptive package names and detailed descriptions, explaining the problems of scope creep and how to prevent it. Have you heard of scope creep? Scope creep? I'm going to tell you what it is in a little while if you haven't heard of it already. How about simplifying payments, adding availability and policies and session length guidance, and emphasizing communicating your policies up front. So here are 5 things that I want you to consider. The first is to define your services and products that you want to provide to your ideal clients, such as portrait sessions, wedding packages, a la carte prints, etc. Limit these to what you can deliver within your calendar that you've started. That's the first one. The second one, I want you to create descriptions and name those options that you have. Give every single one of them a name. You know what photographers provide to their clients is a grouping of services, not just a digital file, not just a print. Outline what's included, but also include timeline, pricing, location, wardrobe changes if that applies, your style, the way you edit, the products that are included, and payment option schedules. Give each of your options a name. Give it a title so that it can be made clear. And make it a title that makes sense, that doesn't add confusion. For instance, the gold package, the platinum package, the silver package. Unless if you're naming something the gold package, unless you're adding gold to it in some way, the gold package doesn't help someone understand what this option is. So I'm saying that's generally not a very good name. Each individual situation is different, though, but think that through. Let me give an example of what could be included. Let's say photographer A has they offer a 1-hour photography session with 10 edited images. Let's say they don't print, and which, by the way, I recommend that photographers do, because even the neighbor could do a photography session and deliver 10 images. And if you're not doing more than what the neighbor could have done, how are you calling yourself a pro other than you accepted money for it? We really should be thinking that through. Do more than what the neighbor could have done. That's really what pros do, in my opinion. You've probably heard me say that it depends on the situation about what you're doing. If you're doing headshots for someone's LinkedIn profile, well, then clearly delivering digital files is the right thing to do because that is what the output needs to be in order to solve the goal. But if it's a family portrait, digital files is not where things end. A print on the wall that they can enjoy every day is where it ends. So therefore, if you're going to do that kind of work, maybe there's more involved, unless you want to do just what the neighbor's doing. And I don't know, sounds like a lazy way out. That's just Jim's opinion. You do you. You do the things that cause you to reach your goals. That is the right way to do things. From your client's point of view, though, let's go back to that description. That photographer offers a 1-hour session with 10 edited images delivered within 2 weeks, and they charge $400 for it. Let's just say. From a client's point of view, what are they getting? 10 images in 2 weeks. Pretty simple what they're getting. But for you, there's a lot more involved. As far as marketing is concerned, clients need to be, well, they need the least amount of information that causes them to be able to quickly and confidently choose you. But we must also convey what's going into it and why things are the way they are. We don't necessarily do that in the marketing phase, though. We could to some degree. But again, our goal is to give them the least information that causes them to be able to quickly and confidently choose you, understand what it is that you're selling. Instead, some of those details come out during the planning stage. It depends on what you do and how you do it. So I don't accept any money until I am confident that they understand what I'm doing, what kind of business I run, what are my steps, what are my process, what are my philosophies, and I do that in as short a period of time as possible without without boring them. At least I think I do that well. But we start off with a strong title for each one of the offerings or options that we give them that makes sense in a clear description. Making options clear is going to help us prevent scope creep down the line. And I mentioned that a little while ago. Let's talk about scope creep. So, scope creep. Have you heard of this? Well, if you haven't, you're hearing about it now. When the range of inclusions of a job expands beyond what was originally agreed upon. Scope creep. It leads to work being added that wasn't part of the original plan. You've been there. Which consumes more of your time and pushes your boundaries. Sometimes it's because a client makes a request or two or 15,000. Other times it's because the scope of the job was not properly explained to the client. So sometimes it's our fault. And sometimes we realize that at some point down the line. But we also sometimes blame our client for not listening. Guys, if your client didn't listen, it's still your fault because you're sharing new information with them. And anytime you receive new information, your mind will catch on to something and wander for a little while. You know that happens to you. It happens to them too. So if they're not hearing everything you're saying, it's because they're human, not because they're not listening to you. Anticipate that they're human and give them multiple opportunities to receive the information that you've told them. Saying it once in a lot of situations is not enough. You're going to have to repeat throughout the entire client sales process, which begins with a phone call, an email, a text, an in-person crossing paths with someone. It's where it starts and it moves into interest and then a planning stage and then the actual session itself and then visiting with them before and after that and then the post-production process and then sharing those images with all the way through to installing their images on the wall, which is what I do. So every step of the way, I assume that they haven't heard me say things before because I don't know where their mind wandered and didn't take in what I was saying. I want to make sure that my message is clear. It's better to repeat and have them hear it a second time than to never have been heard the first time. Besides, you're every once in a while going to forget to say something. So if you repeat yourself at each step of the process, then you are very unlikely to not convey something that you thought was important to convey to your client. Defining your packages and your policies up front helps prevent scope creep by setting firm expectations from the start, but it requires politely sticking to those boundaries when clients request exceptions. Now, those are up to you whether you want to accept them or not. But it's usually best not to. It depends on what you're doing. But it needs to be part of the plan so that it becomes clear. It's not one of those, what do I feel like today kind of responses. It's, does it fit within the plan? Here are some examples of scope creep. A bride asks you to stay longer than planned. Now, some photographers charge by the hour, and so that would apply to them. So wedding photographers, I have a different opinion than a lot of photographers. And I'm not saying yours is wrong. I'm saying you do you. I'm going to share my opinion, though. I personally believe that the photographer is there to tell the story of this couple's once-in-a-lifetime event, not a limited section of it. So while I understand why photographers choose to do weddings by the hour, I don't. And if someone were to ask me, I wouldn't recommend it. The photographer is there to cover the story, not this piece of the story. That's this guy's opinion. You do not have to share it. You have yours. You have your opinion. I have mine. It's all good. It's all fantastic. Here's another example of scope creep. A client asks for additional edited images beyond the number that's included in their package. So I recommend that you have extras already included in your pricing so that they can see it, so that it's clear. You're telling them when you're describing the package to them, this includes X, and any in additional to that are Y. You've told them up front. It's clean. It's clear. You're not just anticipating that they're only going to want that number that's part of the package and that there's nothing else that could possibly happen. Something else could possibly happen. Preempt it. Let them know ahead of time. How about this one as an example of scope creep? A client expects extensive revisions and adds on new product requests after the session is completed. Here's another one. The turnaround time for image delivery keeps getting extended because of additional client requests. So I mentioned this before, but before you accept any money from your clients, make sure that the details are ironed out so that there is little potential for these problems to occur, the scope creep to occur, and that your client knows exactly what it is you're going to be doing for them. So there is scope creep. I hope you understand. Hope you know what that means. Do you understand what that means? So if you're understanding what I'm saying, tell me in the comments. Let me know this is helping, or say this is resonating. I get it. I hear you. I want to hear your opinion on that. All right. Number 3, I want you to define your job availability goals. By the way, we're 3 of 5. Job availability goals. How many sessions do you intend to schedule a week or a month? Maybe for you, that's 2 to 3 sessions a week. Maybe it's 10. Whatever it is, you will need to communicate your availability. It needs to be obvious in some way. I will sometimes use it depends on what kind of work I'm doing for my students. I have a calendar and they just go to my calendar, and the times that I want to work, those are available. The times that I don't work, well, they're not available. They don't show up on the calendar. So you may choose to do it that way as well. But either way, it has to be communicated somehow so that let's say you choose not to work on weekends and they want Saturday. Well, we don't want to have this conversation. We want it to be obvious. We want to preempt that particular situation. Know what you can handle without getting overloaded and adjust your availability accordingly. For instance, maybe you choose to schedule family sessions on weekends only, or maybe you take Fridays off, or maybe you choose to never have back to back newborn sessions because they take a lot out of you. Whatever that is for you, know your limits, know what it is you need to do to make things ideal for you. It doesn't matter what it is, it matters that you have a plan for it and that you add it to your policies, your procedures, and wherever appropriate. It could be even to marketing materials and contracts. So, also, when possible, build in buffer times in between sessions. Next one is number 4, define and limit session length. All right. The length of your sessions is up to you, whatever's appropriate. Maybe you include it in your description, maybe you don't. It depends on what you're trying to accomplish. So for my mini sessions that I do once a year, I do include the time because it's only 10 minutes, so I do include that. But for my family portrait sessions, in my description, I'm not including time because the goal is to get the photograph that causes us to be able to have the image that we've planned for up on their wall. And it takes how long it takes. Generally, that's 30 minutes. It could be as long as an hour. And if you're making your families go through 2 hours, what are you thinking? Now, there may be some specific reason why you do that, but that is a huge amount of time for the kids to be good, for dad to remain interested. And besides, does wandering through a park actually improve the photographs? I'm thinking that planning your photographs and executing the plan is the thing that improves your photographs. Wandering just means you haven't planned. This is just this one guy's opinion. You don't have to share it. There are times when wandering is the right thing to do, but I don't think 2 hours is the right period of time unless you're going for a hike. And then however long the hike is. So maybe it's an all-day hike. Fantastic. I wouldn't really consider that a family portrait session. But still, each job needs to be planned so that it is ideal for the situation, for you, for your client. It needs to be planned. It needs to make sense. For some, I would suggest that they restrict family sessions to an hour, 45 minutes. Or to another, I might suggest that you cap newborn sessions at 2-3 hours instead of offering unlimited time. Yep, I've come across newborn sessions that are unlimited. Why? Well, because newborns are going to be whatever it is they're going to be. They're going to be hopefully sleeping and allowing you to do whatever it is you and whatever pose you're trying to do, and it's relatively quick. That's possible. There are other variables that happen during newborn sessions that you don't have control over, and so plan to get what you need to have done within a 30-minute period. Just block off 2 hours for it or 3 hours, whatever's appropriate. The bottom line is that you must have control over your schedule, whatever that means to you. So you've got to define it. And you must be able to communicate it clearly. Number 5. Establish scheduling, rescheduling, and cancellation policies. Again, just like everything else, these need to be shared transparently. But for example, some photographers will require a 50% deposit to book, which is non-refundable if they cancel within 2 weeks of the session. So they have defined that as a rule. Some photographers don't define any rules, so therefore that's why people walk all over you. But I say that we need to attempt to eliminate friction points, and deposits are one of those that I think are relatively easy to get rid of. And each situation is different, though. There are times I actually do recommend it. But generally speaking, I say skip deposits altogether because it's just a friction point. Define what you charge it, and move on. Simple, right? Otherwise, it seems like you're just trying to make things more complicated, more variables, more explanation you have to do when things are due. I mean, maybe you're doing it because you want to give people a form of a payment plan. That makes sense. And that might be a good idea. But do not assume that someone needs it. You may need it, but you aren't your client. You are not a good example of your client. So don't assume. You don't know their situation. Besides, what will you do if they don't have the money when it's due? Those of you who take payments, or I meant to say deposits, and then take the remainder the day of, or some period of time ahead of time. Have you come across times when they didn't have it? What do you do in that instance? Just get it taken care of at the beginning. Let's just not go there. Their mind is fully on the session and making a payment when you actually make that sale. Just take the payment in full at that point. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means something different to everyone. But since I do family portraits, I have a creation fee, which is usually $400, and then the prints afterwards. But we don't know what prints they're going to buy until they have had a chance to look at it. So they're paying the $400 up front. There's no deposit. There's no nothing. There's just the $400. Boom, it's done. I don't have to think about it anymore. They don't have to think about it anymore. I certainly don't want them having to think about money the day of the portrait session. That to me is just rude. That's mean. They've got other things that they're dealing with. Mom has probably had to get everybody together if it's a family portrait session. Try to take things off of their plate. Having already paid for the session is an easy one to take off of her plate. Again, Jim's opinion. You don't have to believe it, follow it, do it. That's just another opinion. Having clearly defined options, availability, and policies helps you align your client expectations with the ideal life that you need to thrive. It's kind of like the rules to a game. It's your game, your rules. Remaining firm yet kind when enforcing your rules is essential to maintaining boundaries. Next thing I want to talk about is being selective with your clients. We have to be picky to some degree. We're not after everyone. Not everyone is our target market. Just because they have a pulse and they look human does not mean they're a good client for you. So stop it with well, I'll accept anybody. That's desperate. You don't need that, and it doesn't actually work. Now, if you can hustle enough, you can make it work. But that relies on the hustle, not the system. You want a system that works to reduce your stress. Hustle can work, but it does not reduce stress. Besides, how about if you have a system and you hustle in the system? There's a win-win. If you've been with me even a short period of time, you know how important defining a clear target market is. As you establish rules in your business, the quality of your clients becomes obvious. We must make sure that we purposefully create a path for those who are most ideal to easily find their way to us. So make sure that you only show what you want to sell. Do not accept money until you know that the prospect is a good fit for you. Refer prospects that aren't a good fit for you to other photographers. That means you have to establish relationships with other photographers. Besides, that's a win-win. They will start sending business to you also, depending on who you're doing it. You don't want to partner with a generalist photographer. You want to partner with someone who has a specific ideal client, just like you. While you want to have as little friction as possible, they do have some hoops that they jump through in order to work with you, so that you can identify the red flags of unrealistic expectations or a disrespect for your time and effort. You want to be aware of these things before you start working with someone, if possible. And in having conversation with them and in defining yourself clearly, you will reduce those people who drain you and increase those who energize you. I want you, though, to be prepared to politely decline. Write down what you're going to say. Prepare it. Think it through. I also want you to resist taking on clients purely for money reasons. This isn't a greed thing, guys. You are an artist. You're doing it because you love it. So let's just not take on every client just because they have money. One client, one draining client, could sabotage your will to continue. I've had several photographers tell me about one specific client who was wonderful at first, who turned into someone who drained everything out of them. And for some, they went out of business. Some, they came back later. Some just had, a certain short period, hopefully short period of time of recovery from this person. I want you to avoid that kind of person by being clear on who your ideal client is. Now, that doesn't mean you won't wind up with an occasional client that's difficult. Doesn't mean it. However, you will reduce that to a minimum, and you are going to be much happier because of it. Devote your time, your attention, and your talent to those who respect you the most, those who uplift you, those who energize you, as well as appreciate your vision, and who respect your rules. That's who I want to work with. Now, we have certain things in place, but we have to have sustainable pricing as well. So let's talk about that for just a moment. When establishing your boundaries in your ideal life, setting sustainable pricing is crucial. I mean, if you are completely booked and don't have enough money to replace your camera when it inevitably breaks down, did I say that word right? I'm going to repeat that sentence. If you are completely booked and don't have enough money to replace your camera when it inevitably breaks down, that will certainly cause some stress in your world. We must make sure to get our pricing right. Too many photographers are given horrible advice that sounds completely plausible. It sounds like good advice. You might have been one of those who's given this advice because it does sound like it makes sense. On the surface, it does. But the worst way to price yourself is to simply look at what others charge and trying in some weird way to match it through, I don't know, mental telepathy and feelings. What other photographers charge in no way applies to your personal business goals, to your financial needs. It would be like if you're driving and you make a decision to exit the highway because some cool car just exited. So what if that car exits the road? So what if they change lanes? So what if they do whatever it is that they do? Sure, you're going to pay attention to what it is that they're doing because you're driving. You're on the same road as them. But it has nothing to do with your goals. They are doing something different than you. Your prices have almost nothing to do with what others charge. Your prices must be sustainable for you, or you'll do what most photographers do: struggle. You must charge an amount that causes you to reach your goals. Consider things like the cost of doing business, your expenses, labor. You have to charge for you. You guys know this, right? If you don't charge for you, you are the worst boss ever, because you're wearing multiple hats as a photographer, as a business owner. You're the photographer, employee. You're also the business owner, employer. If you're not including paying you, you're a horrible boss. How long would you go and work for some other business and not get paid for it? Now, if you're doing it for education purposes, you're an intern or an apprentice or something. Oh, okay, I get that. That makes sense. You're doing that for educate. You're getting an education without having to pay for it. So that makes sense. I get it. I encourage it when it's a right fit. However, if you need the income, how long are you going to put up with an employer who doesn't pay? And yet some photographers don't include the cost of themselves in the mix. You have a value, a very specific one. And I can tell you exactly what it is that you're worth by all you'd have to do is answer a handful of questions, 3 or 4, and there may be some additional ones because of the answers, but generally 4 questions, and I'll be able to tell you exactly how much you are worth per hour, every hour that you work. It's a mathematical equation, and once you've seen it, it'll make perfect sense. And now I know there are some who think it's crazy. You can't come up with someone's worth through a mathematical equation. Give me a chance, and you'll see. Once you've gone through this short process, you'll totally understand why I do it the way I do it. And you'll be like, oh, that actually does make sense. I just wasn't aware. Yeah, well, stop saying negative things about things you know nothing about. Aren't we humans fun? So consider things like cost of doing business, your expenses, your labor, your desired profit, because your business has to profit, not just paying you. That's not profit. That's part of doing business. Your business has to make a profit too, or you're not going to be able to continue. People will judge you based on price. Photographers, just like restaurants, come in different levels, and you can be perceived however you want to be perceived. But do you want to be perceived as the fast food photographer or the steakhouse photographer or something in between? It's totally up to you. Determine ideal income needs and work backwards to the required pricing you need in order to reach your goals. Knowing your pricing rather than guessing your pricing gives you the power and the freedom not to cave on your prices, because you know you'll never reach your goals if you do. Your confidence soars when you know that your pricing is in line with helping you reach your goals. Does that resonate with you? Tell me over in the comments. Let me know. Does that make sense? By the way, I am more than happy to do a free session with you. My dog is sitting next to me, and he was dreaming, and so and it sounded like he was crying, so I woke him up. But we have to know our pricing. We have to set sustainable pricing. It has to make sense. And so if that makes sense to you, let me know in the comments. Tell me, this is resonating. This makes sense. Yes, I am aware. And if you would like to take advantage, I guess I didn't look them up. If you want to take advantage of a special offer, I don't even charge for certain things, and other things I do. But I'll give you a free, take me 20 minutes to tell you how much you're worth per hour. In fact, I'll put that on the screen right now. Let me on the comments. Let me grab that link. Copy that link. There we go. Comments. So this is a free pricing session. I'm not going to charge you anything for it. And I'm going to put that here in the comments section. There we go. All right. So just take advantage of that. It'll take about 20 minutes. I'm going to block off 30 and you'll see that on there. But I can help you with your pricing, get it exact in order to reach your goals. And it has nothing to do with the other photographers are doing. Again, think of them as just cars on the road. They're going on their own path. They have their own reason for being there. And they're going to exit when it's time to exit. That doesn't mean you need to exit too. Pricing is personal. We consider other people's pricing, but it is not how you base your prices. It is not where you start. It's a nuanced feature. Some people are jumping straight to the nuance rather than doing the foundation. It'd be like building a house without a foundation, without walls. You're jumping straight to the granite countertops. That makes no sense. But it's the recommendation that most photographers give when someone asks a question about price. Look at other photographers. Come on. Look at other cars on the road. Do what they're doing. Come on. It's bad advice. Set sustainable pricing. All right. I want you to streamline your workflow and client communications. I've got this section and one small section to go. There's not much left in this. We're almost done. So now, now that you have defined your options, your availability, your pricing, your policies, your ideal clients, look for ways to automate operations by identifying repetitive tasks. You do that by reviewing your client communication process, your client sales process. By the way, if you do not already have your client sales process already written out, detailed, I highly suggest that you have that done soon. Make this an action step, an item that you do today. Define all the steps from the very first moment someone crosses paths with you, and there's a lot of ways that could happen, all the way to a job being finished. What are all the steps that you have to go through? And then what are all the steps they have to go through in order to deal with you? But define that. If you need some help with that, we're on episode number, I think, 131 right now. But if you go back, make sure that that's right. Yep. Today is number 131. But if you go back to episodes number 6 through 11, that was back in March and April of 2021, by the way. Go back to episodes number 6 through 11, and those will help you in defining your client path, the path that they're taking. So once you've done that, identify tasks that can be automated. For instance, your customer relationship management, which I call client relationship management. I call the people I work with clients, not customers. But that's shortened to CRM programs, or more specific to photographers, studio management software, or SMS. And studio is just the title that this genre is given. It doesn't mean you have to have a physical studio. That's just the name of it. There's a lot of different programs. I'll just mention two: Pixify and Dubsado. But choose one of those, that is the right one for you. It could be Honeybook. It could be Sprout Studio or iOS Works or Studio Ninja. There's a ton of them out there. You choose the one that is the right one for you, and make that choice quickly. Do not research that for a week. Come on. You need to get moving. And I've seen people research this for months and not make a decision. That is not good for you or your business. Quick decisions are better, way better, because it forces you to actually learn it. Social media content can be created ahead of time, scheduled, and then auto published on multiple platforms using a program such as Buffer. You can go to buffer.com and get a free trial. How about email marketing? To help you with list building, you could use an AI powered email marketing tool such as Brevo to automate your email sending process, your schedule emails and optimal times, and even tracking performance metrics. To get more information on Brevo, you would go to brevo.com, brevo.com. Post-production tools that you can use for culling and editing. Now, what used to take hours in post-production, going through the images, culling, and then editing, would take hours to do. If you're still doing that, you are living in the past. You need to find a quicker way. You need to have more free time for yourself. So use a culling and editing process, a software program like Filter Pixel. That way you're getting back that time, hours worth. I mean, this is huge. They even have a free version. Go to filterpixel.com to find out more information about that. Oh, you have to do that. All right. The goal is to spend less time on repetitive tasks and communications, because you want to free up your time and focus on providing excellent client services and giving more time back to you and your family. Investing in efficiency also demonstrates professionalism and respect for your client's time in addition to yours. Here are just a couple of things I want to mention before I give you my closing thoughts. These are some additional ways to avoid burnout. Continuing education. Continue your growth, continue your learning. Schedule time for learning, skills development to avoid ignorant stagnation. What's ignorant stagnation? Being totally unaware that you aren't growing like you once did. I recommend classes, books, mentors, and taking on a business coach. Every single one of you should have a business coach. Business coaches don't cost money, they make you money. And if they don't, you'll let them go and you find someone who does. A business coach is going to cause you to shoot through the roof. So stop saying, I can't afford that yet. If you can't afford it yet, that's the reason why you need to do it. Because you need to be able to afford it. And they will cause a path, they will create a path to make that easy. Seriously. And yes, I'm biased because I do that too. But I'm not the only one. There's a lot of business coaches out there. Choose the one that's right for you. Talk to 2, 3, 4, and then make a decision and move forward. It is going to make the biggest difference in your life. Get a business coach. Next is build your support system. Build a support network. This could be made up of friends, family, other photographers, photography groups even. This is a group that's made up of people who provide encouragement to you. This is a group that you create yourself to provide encouragement to you. Another one is to seek help when needed from your support system, of course. But if things get really tough, then maybe it's a counselor or a therapist that's the right choice. Trust your instincts. Listen to your intuition, especially when you feel pulled in many directions, which happens a lot. Always go back to the basics. What is it going to take to reach your ideal life? And then finally, appreciate the wins. Celebrating every win, whether it's a small accomplishment or a milestone, feel the motivation in every bit of progress. Now, here are my closing thoughts. Portrait Profits friends, as we reach the end of another show, You've heard several strategies to create beneficial boundaries and prevent burnout in your photography business. Strategies such as getting clear on your ideal life, defining options and policies that protect your time and your energy, outsourcing non essential tasks, surrounding yourself with positive support, pricing yourself so that you even have potential to reach your goals, and nurture yourself with planned time off. Make sure to celebrate setting even small boundaries as wins. With a few minor adjustments, you're going to gain confidence as you build a business that fuels your passion and leads you to your ideal life. Every week, as you know, we do the Portrait Profit Show. And before I tell you about next week's show, I want to tell you about something that's coming. And let me put that on the screen. If you're in the San Antonio area, there is the 11th annual San Antonio Photography Tournament on October 22nd. So add that to your calendar. October 22nd. It's the annual San Antonio Photography Tournament. It is a fun event. It's a fun tournament. And let me grab the address for that so you can get to that. I'm going to put that in the comments as well. Comments. There we go. Nope. There it is. All right. So right now in the comments section, you should be seeing this link that's coming up, and that's so that you can get more information and to purchase tickets to participate in the 11th annual San Antonio Photography Tournament. We usually have around 100, 150. The most that have been at one was 200. But there is going to be thousands in prizes, but it's just fun being around other photographers. We're going to be at Confluence Park this year, right on the San Antonio River. So if you're in the San Antonio area, click that link that I just gave you, photofun.eventbrite.com, photofun.eventbrite.com, so you can get more information and get your tickets to the 11th annual San Antonio Photography Tournament. All right. I also want to encourage you to take advantage of my coaching program, and I'm going to do that and make it really easy for you to get in with a 45-minute coaching session. Just something quick, go over the things that are important to you, find a plan for your future. And let me put that in the comment section too on how to take advantage of that. Let's see, there we go. Copy and paste. There we go. So hopefully you're seeing that right now coming up in your feed and on the comments there about the link to my 45-minute coaching session. It's $80. That's it. That's $80. Yeah. I offer a ton of stuff for free. I've offered a bunch of stuff for free already, and this is only $80. So it's not much. Yeah, I have things that are a lot higher prices than this, but this is just to get you a little bit of information about what is going on in your life right now, what's important. And so I'm going to help you with some, hands-on marketing strategies or business strategies or pricing. So as a special gift or offer to my Portrait Profits friends, I'm offering or making this 45-minute coaching session available. Now, right now, when you go to the link, there won't be anything available. I'm going to set this after this ends here in just a few minutes. So when you come back in 20 minutes from now, you'll see the options. I'm gonna choose what times I want. I'm gonna choose how many of them I want. I'm gonna make them available, and you can have those until they're gone. But again, you won't see anything there. It'll look like the calendar is empty, but in about 20 minutes from now, it'll be there. All right. So that's the 45-minute coaching session. And take that off. And as you know, every single week, we do the Portrait Profit Show. And so I want to talk about the show that's coming up next. So that's 1 week from today. That is on Monday, the August 28th at noon, just like this one. And the title of that one, let me put that up on the screen. Oh, I didn't add it yet. I'll do that right now. All right. It's the title is Must Have Skills for Profitable Photographers. And I'm going to add that to the screen right now. There it is. August 28th at noon, Must Have Skills for Profitable Photographers. Whether you're just starting out or you're growing, next week's show will equip you with the tools to master the business side of photography. I'll provide actionable tips to earn consistently, to create stability, and scale your photography empire. Upgrade your hustle and learn how to run your business like a boss. That is in 1 week from today. Put that on your calendar. So I appreciate you guys being here. I know you have things going on in your life, and I think it's fantastic that you are wanting to grow and become better at the thing that you find, the things that you're passionate about and you want to grow. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. I want to thank you for your time and attention here today. Thank you for the efforts that you make to be such an amazing photographer that you are. I encourage you to hit that like button. I encourage you to comment. I'm about to close the show. And if you have a thank you, Jim, or some kind of appreciation at the end of the show, I'm actually going to show that before I end the show. So here's that opportunity to say thanks, or I appreciate that, or looking forward to the next one, something along those lines. Put it in the comments right now before I end the show. But I encourage that kind of interaction. It shows me that you're watching. It shows me that you're here. And of course, it encouraged me to keep on keeping on. Hit that like button, hit that love button. Together, we help each other achieve our goals and make a difference in the world through our passion for portrait photography. For Landers Photography School and Digital Pro Lab, my name is Jim Landers, bringing you the weekly Portrait Profit Show with its evolving content, awareness, and even fun as we unpack the mysteries of the business side of photography with tips and insights that help you with the struggles you deal with now so you are constantly realigned to the path that leads to the success you deserve. Thank you for investing your time here at the Portrait Profit Show. I look forward to watching you grow. Bye for now.